Ask Reddit.
What is the worst Christmas present you have ever received?
This was actually really funny. It was from my grandmother. I unwrapped it and it was a little tin box. I opened the box and there was a fake gift card there, like an indication of this is where you put the gift card. And I just looked at her like, what is it or what's going on? And she goes, it's a gift card holder. You can put all your gift cards in there. And I just started laughing saying, no, you are supposed to put a gift card in here to give to someone. It was really cute though. Bless her heart. I love your attitude about it. Sure it sucked, but hell it makes an awesome story. Haha yes, it wasn't really like the worst present. It was just really funny. And the fact that she actually thought that that is what it was for.
One year when I was a kid, my parents bought me a computer mouse. What makes it bad is that I didn't have a computer and had been asking for one for years. And it wasn't a cheap thing, my parents were always really well off. In fact, we had a spare computer sitting in a closet. My parents just really didn't want me to have my own computer. Still not sure why they got me the mouse though. Just seems like a, fuck you. They didn't want you to use their mouse because it would get sticky after your fappy times. Installment plan? Maybe they intended to buy you bit by bit for future holidays, birthdays, graduation events? Kinda like how my parents would wrap the batteries to my gifts separately, and then we'd all be really confused when I got to them before the thing they powered. When I was 14, my single mom was struggling to afford to raise me and my 2-year-old sister. Being the good guy I thought I was growing up to be, I asked my father if I could move out with him to give my mom a break for a while. Dad accepted and I moved. Fast forward to Christmas of '91, I'm 15 living with my dad and his wife and her 2 kids. We are going to travel from our house outside of San Francisco to his wife's mom's house-in-law for Christmas. The date is 12/21. 12/22 my dad and I are going to fly to Texas just for the day to check out his new job. He was in construction for a national company, so this was not abnormal. So we leave, I'm thinking great, here's some me and dad time. Things haven't gone that great. I'm 15, used to pretty much taking care of myself. I've gotten in some trouble and of course my dad isn't accustomed to raising a teenager either. So, we've had our struggles. I'm thinking we'll do some talking, maybe think on how to live better with one another. We are picked up by 3 guys at the Dallas airport, transferred to an office location where dad and I are sat in an office with another gentleman. Said gentleman begins to explain that this is an inpatient rehabilitation center for kids, that I'll be there a minimum of 6 months, and that my dad will be leaving. Well, needless to say, I wasn't having it. As I lay on the floor, being held in a 4-point restraint, I watched my dad walk out the door without saying goodbye or answering my pleas, asking why he was doing this to me. The place was hell, you can look it up, used to be called Straight Incorporated and Kids before that. My dad left me there 3 days before Christmas. It took my mom 4 months to get out of him where I was, and then to get my uncle to come there and get me out. In that time I had no contact with anyone I've ever known. I was abused, mentally and physically, and pretty much gave up on trying to live. So there, Merry Christmas to me. The Guide to Pokémon Crystal. Not the video game, but the guide. I didn't even have the video game to edit. Or a GBA for that matter. I got a guide to Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicle once. Didn't have the game or a GameCube. I was sad lol. My stepbrother and I each got a copy of the strategy guide for Mortal Kombat 3 one Christmas, despite A, not having the game, and B, not being allowed to rent it because it was too violent. You just read the guide and imagine you are playing the game. That is pretty much what happened. And what pissed me off the most is that years later, I actually found and purchased a used copy of MK3 for the SNES, but by that point, the guide had long vanished.
A few years ago my aunt gave me a rock. She gave presents to me and my 2 older cousins and said it's time for the big girls to open their gifts. She made my cousins go first and they got scarves and I opened my present and pulled a rock out of the package and looked up waiting for her to laugh and she said, "Isn't it wonderful?" So I had to be like, "Yeah, I love it." She then told me that she had dug it out of her garden the previous summer and she knew that I would think it is so cool. The following year she gave me acorn tops because some people know how to use them to whistle and I don't know how to show you or explain, but I'm sure you can figure it out. She is a tad eccentric. Both were pretty terrible presents. This Christmas we did a white elephant gift exchange, or whatever people call it. I ended up with a USB pet rock. It's a rock attached to a USB cord. When you plug it in, it does nothing because it's a rock. The only use I found for it was to swing the cord around and hit people with the rock. Literally Cole. Straight A student, never got in fights, helped in the community, never talked back, helped around the house, and paid for everything I owned with jobs since I was 12. Sister got a Game Gear, dating myself I know, along with games etc. as her stocking stuffer, let alone her other presents. I got a piece of coal. After the laughter died down I asked if I could open my real presents to be told that was my present. When asked why and what I did to deserve it, I was told you didn't do anything wrong. I thought it would be funny. Stopped holding my breath for sibling equality or even something resembling it after that.
I can actually answer this question with one of my presents this year. When I had gotten home from college I found myself with some excess cash. I decided to invest in some new video games for myself and had them sent to my house. The strange thing was I had only received half of the games. I emailed the suppliers and told them I hadn't gotten my packages yet and was growing quite sad. Well, Christmas morning came around and I was opening up my presents. I got to the one from my older brothers. I tore the paper away and opened the box. Inside there were several other packages that had been mailed to our house. With my name on them. My brother had taken half of my games and hid them from me until Christmas. Worst present ever. What a ouch. Next time you give him a present, just take some of his stuff and box it up. One time my brother had just passed his driving test and was waiting anxiously for his license to come in the mail. My sister picked up the mail that had his license ID in it and proceeded to hold it for about a month, to which then his 18th birthday would arrive and wrapped it up still in the envelope and handed it to him. I was pissed for days, even though it didn't happen to me. My family has a tradition of everyone opening one gift the night before. Usually my parents would pick which one, and it would usually be something small so that we'd save the big surprises for Christmas Day. One year when my brother was around 15, he was dead set on opening one specific present, and my mom gave in and let him choose that one as the one he got to open on Christmas Eve. He opened it, and it was a wooden box similar to this one. He was so shocked that it was just a box, and he kept yelling, "That's it? It's a box?" over and over again. I don't know what he was expecting to be in there or why he wanted that specific one so bad, but he was very disappointed. I'm late to this, but I'll tell you my story. The worst present I ever received was a white button-down shirt by my grandmother. It was from Sears and of actual good quality. It wasn't so much the shirt that was a problem, it was the fact that I was the only one to get a present. My brother and sister from a different father, but my father adopted them when he married my mother, and they still think of him as dad, did not, nor did my stepsister or stepbrother. I was always the favorite grandchild. I don't even think my cousins got anything. Now, my siblings didn't care. We all knew how grandma was and she was old and we were expecting it. No big deal. My stepmother, however, did not understand. While I can see why she was upset, her explosion was not necessary. She was always trying to push me and my older siblings out. So she exploded. How dare my grandmother bring presents for one child and not anyone else? How could she possibly think that was appropriate? My grandmother fought back. She didn't have a lot of money and she felt bad not getting anyone anything, and her children have so much and I do not. We children sat there listening to all of this until my father yells at both of them, "Stop it," and slams his fists on the counter. It's Christmas. He stares at both of them for a few seconds, then gets his keys and drives off. My grandmother leaves shortly after. My father doesn't return until the next day. He had to work that night and calls my stepmother from work. He drove to West Texas from Abilene, Texas, to see the snow. TLDR. Grandmother buys only me a present, stepmom explodes. Dad takes off for the day.